everybody, and welcome back to the Keeping It Blunt podcast. If it's not welcome back, then welcome, and hit that little follow button, the little subscribe button, depending on what platform you're on. I just like to follow us on Instagram. Yes, follow us on Instagram. I just like to start this episode apologizing for not releasing an episode last week. There was a lot going on. I was working throughout the week. Graeme was moving into a new flat. And we just, things got ahead of us, and we're now recording this on Monday after it was supposed to go out on Saturday. Oh, we also tried to record it about 3 times and just kept having different problems. So touch wood, this one's going.
Like we said earlier on the Instagram, there was stuff just way out of our control.
Like we tried everything and it just wasn't working. So we are here now on Monday, the 1st of February. We're going to try again, and this one's going to come out on Saturday. We're just going to skip this week and pretend it never happened.
I need to say something. You know, everyone's been going on about how fantastic February is as a month, like how symmetrical it is. I've got this calendar that starts at the month on a Sunday, starts a week on a Sunday, and it's ruined my life.
Perfectly symmetrical February has been ruined on your calendar. Oh my word.
Literally. I want to get rid of it because now it's literally there for a month.
Like, what's the point? Okay.
And I mean, if this wasn't a great intro for the episode about ADHD, I don't know what is.
I think that was a pretty good start, So yes, as Graeme just mentioned, we are going to be talking about ADHD today. It's something that both of us have quite a bit of experience with. Yeah, so now we've done this 3 times already, so I'm trying to remember how we did it. Where did we go?
We're going to talk about each of our own personal experiences. So we'll start with mine.
Graeme, let's start with you because you've been on the meds for a lot longer than I have, and you've known about it a lot longer. So let's go with you. Tell us your story about ADHD.
So basically, I knew about it before I was actually diagnosed, if that makes sense, because my brother, who's a few years older than me, was diagnosed before I was. And then I think I was diagnosed at a similar age that he was. So I think probably grade 1, 2, consistently on the meds from like grade 3, I'd say. Started off with a cocktail of things. Basically just tried all of them to see what would work. Tried Rit, tried Concerta, even tried a pill. It's called Stratera. I've never seen anybody else use it besides myself and my brother. So there was that. But it was just one of those things that I needed it because I went to a psychiatrist at a young age for whatever reasons. My parents obviously picked up on something, or maybe a teacher picked up on something my brother was exhibiting, and then parents saw the same thing in me. I don't know. It just happened. Went to the psychiatrist. He was like, yeah, take the pills. And been on them since. So
yeah, I mean, as long as I've known Graeme, he's been on the meds.
A lot of experience with all of the side effects, all of the pros, the cons. Like, I've had it all. So quite a...
Graeme's been around the block a few times.
I want to talk about it. Like I've told you before we tried to record this last time, like...
You've never spoken about it really publicly.
I've never spoken about it to, like, outside of our mate. Like, even at, like, high school, I became more open about it. But, like, primary school, it was kind of just, like, don't tell anybody you're on med.
Even in high school, you weren't. It wasn't really like a well-known thing that Graeme had ADHD. I mean, if you were in class with him, you knew. But if you just our school was quite big, 250 people in a grade, so like they probably at least half the grade had no idea.
I mean,
didn't care either.
Even saying that, like saying if you were in class with me, I wasn't like a disruptive, typical like always speaking, always trying to take over. It was more like I would just fidget a lot. And
so I think both of us are both definitely the inattentive type more than the hyperactive type, because for those of you who don't know, you might have heard people refer to ADD. ADD doesn't exist. It's ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Basically, it can present as predominantly hyperactive or predominantly inattentive, or a combination of both. Most little boys that get diagnosed because they are the predominantly hyperactive and they are disruptive in class, and they're just a pain in the ass, to be fair.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of young girls slip under the radar because females tend to sway towards the predominantly inattentive, and especially at a young age, it's kind of hard to pick up on some of the things that some of the sort of, would you say, symptoms, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
mannerisms, I would say.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't call it so much symptoms, but more just like
like the telltale
things.
signs, yeah, like the behaviors.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't you. Like, you've actually studied this in class.
Yeah.
As part of your, part of your degree. It's not like we went to quickly did a Google search on this shit. Like, I've got real life experience, and Dane's got the theoretical experience. So.
I've got some real life experience as well. So let me just quickly bash out my little story, and then we can get into talking about some of the misconceptions and whatnot. So basically, 100%. I've always known, I'd say, well, maybe not always, but since high school, definitely knew that I was ADHD and probably needed to be on the meds, on Ritalin or Concerta or whatever. But I never pushed it really because it didn't affect me to the point, like, it wasn't affecting my marks so much because I didn't find school that difficult, so my marks were still fairly high. And I got through school with very little effort.
And also, it was also a time when you were very overly cautious when it came to medicine.
Yes, that's another factor. Like
you didn't really take like too much. You were quite apprehensive towards becoming reliant on medicine. If that makes sense.
And I still think I am. But I've become a lot more open to it. So that was like around grade 11, grade 12, 17, 18, I'm just starting to figure out that maybe not everything in the world is the way that we've been told it is. And that comes with that initial big pharma just out to get us. All medicine's a load of shit. It's all just a profit-making scheme, which I still believe has some sort of merit. But at the end of the day, I believe that every pharmaceutical medicine probably has a natural cure, but at the end of the day, it's not always that easy. So sometimes taking a pill is more practical, and that's part of the 21st century. I mean, modern medicine's saving lives every day. So yeah, that's why in school I never like pushed myself to get diagnosed with it or anything like that. But then sort of, I'd say, what did I say the last time? I think it was when I came to Pretoria.
Well, there was grade 11 or matric. I think.
Oh yes, so I'd like taken a couple of Ritalins, studying for like exams and stuff in grade 11 and 12. There were a couple of times when I'd taken a Ritalin the night before and just like it worked. I smashed it out. Did like a few past papers because that was pretty much all I did to study.
Yeah.
And the one that stands out was like the night before our accounting trials exam in matric. I think it was something like that. Yeah. To Graham's house.
Which you were like proud to fail that thing.
Yeah, I'd done nothing. It was the night before the exam. I hadn't done a past paper. I hadn't looked at our book. I hadn't done half the exercises throughout the year because I used to just walk into the class, put my earphones in, and go to sleep. And this was like, Graham, bro, I need to come to your house. And yeah, I need to come to your house and do some past papers with you so you can just help me pass this thing.
Yeah.
We took a Ritalin, smashed out a couple of past papers, and I got 79 the next day. And Mrs. Tedder shat on me because I finished in an hour instead of 3 hours and only got 79. So yeah, that was when I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I probably need. I'm still not going to push it. Then it was first year in Pretoria, so my second year out of school. Shortly after, so it was around September when there was a lot. I think it was Uyanene, the girl that got kidnapped from the post office in Cape Town and was found dead, and there was a big uproar in the gender-based violence, like
protests on campus, many
things on campus,
meeting, a lot of marches.
And I learned a lot about what other people around me were going through. Yeah, because it was just hearing stories about people that I was sitting with in class and things that they'd gone through, and other friends of mine had gone through, and I was just like absolutely mind-boggled at how fucked up men could be. Really, like I'd never realized the extent. I always knew that men were a bit creepy, but I didn't realize how bad it was.
I mean, I felt quite, for lack of a better term, sheltered with all that because, like, there was no chat, like no one in my classes was actually causing an uproar as so much as the girls in your class were.
Yeah. I mean, we studied the stuff like it was very, like, the timing was pretty good as well with what we were studying in class. Like, it was, yeah. And yeah, just like seeing what people I knew had gone through. A lot of people came out on social media telling their stories and whatever.
Yeah.
And it just, so basically where I'm going with this story, I haven't taken my pill today, so this might go all over the place. I went to a psychologist, and we were just chatting about all kinds of other stuff. I'd seen her in matric in grade 11, and so I went to go see her again for the first time in a couple of years. We were just chatting about whatever. Just mentioned at like some point in the thing how I really struggled to get going with routine, and get something going for a few days and the wheels would fall off. Like things that I know I need to do to sort of grow as a person, I just wasn't doing. I'm still not really doing that well.
Yeah.
And basically she started asking me a bunch of questions that sort of like the ADHD diagnosis stuff, and she was kind of like, okay, I want you to speak to your GP. Like you mentioned that you've taken Ritalin and it worked for you. If Ritalin works for you, that means that you need it. And so went to GP, got a prescription. That was sort of the end of 28. Actually, I think it was the end of 2019 that this happened.
2019, yeah.
It was also okay. So this whole story was 2019, not 2018. Yes, it was second year in Pretoria. Yeah, and then so I went back throughout that final exam period of 2019, and then last year, I mean, I was taking it regularly for the first month, and then the wheels fell off of the whole world. And yeah, yeah. So that was the end of that. And then recently, now this year, I was like, okay, I've just gone to a GP and just been handed a diagnosis. Like, I want to sort it out properly. So literally, like a week ago, I went and like got weighed and did all of that stuff, and I'm now working with a doctor. We're back in a couple of months, and we're gonna get my dosage right and get my shit together, basically. But yeah. So now that you know that both of us are ADHD, and you've seen how we can go off on a tangent quite easily.
Yeah.
It might explain, it might explain some of the other podcasts previously, how we sometimes talk over each other a little bit. How we'll just go on a random tangent. It's just part of who we are.
And also while the first episode was us discussing animals fighting each other, like
because which is our most viewed episode, and it's definitely the worst one so far.
In fairness, also our first one.
Yeah. So
just go watch our other shit, guys. It's actually really good.
Yeah, and I'm also I need to get better on making the clips and stuff, because the clips do quite well for us. I'm lazy, and a lot of other stuff that I'm busy doing at the moment. But yeah, so
all good.
So basically, let's about like the medication side. What do you want to say?
I was going to talk a bit about how we touched on it briefly, how it helped you study, but I wanted to just go and say like how it never held us back academically.
Oh, no rule. I mean, okay, yeah, that's actually a very good point. So yeah, carry on.
So something that bugged me a lot at school. So like we said earlier, it wasn't widely known that I had ADHD. It wasn't like something I was embarrassed about or anything. It's just I just never brought it up. It just because it was one of those things I never felt I needed to. But something that always irked me a bit was guys who would struggle at school and blame it on being ADHD.
Yeah. And I think the excuse is understandable. Like, school's not for everyone. And
no.
It is an easy cop out to just be like, yeah, it's ADHD. That's why I can't study.
Yeah, and that's why I can't do well at school. That was the thing that bugged me the most, because it was kind of like I almost wanted to just stick up my hand and be like, that's bullshit. But like we were saying, everyone's different. But I don't think you can blame the ADHD as to why. Because if you want to, you can. It's hard, but you can focus without.
Yeah. And I mean,
it's
okay,
really
so
difficult.
on that, I mean, I never struggled
you
with it
didn't
in
have
school.
meds
I wouldn't.
until
It was definitely there and a part of my life, but I didn't struggle with it. And a large part of that was because one of the things that helps it with ADHD naturally is having a rigid routine. And school gives that to you. Like you don't have a choice. You wake up, you're at school by 7:37. Your lessons start by 8, and every hour you're going from one class to another, and your day is structured every single day. And I think like that is a huge part in why it got to a point where I needed to sort of look for like why I needed to sort of get onto the medication was because without that forced routine and having to do my own routine, it's not as easy as you might think. Like for those people who don't have it, it seems, even for me, it just seems like such a simple black and white, just write down what you need to do in a day and what time you need to do it and just do it, right? I mean, it's simple.
The problem is you can't, like, the best, like, I saw something, and I think maybe I'll try and find the picture and we can post it on Instagram. But it was something, someone had tweeted or whatever. It's like trying to, like, write a to-do list with ADHD is you first have to find the pen and paper. When you scratch around in the drawer for a piece of paper, you find another thing. And then you're like, oh shit, I need to do this. And then you find out that you have to do your washing. And it's literally just a continuous downward spiral that you like rearranging your whole bedroom because you were supposed to make a to-do list and you make complete sense how you got there.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people just have this idea that all it affects is academics and being able to focus in class. And that's this kind of perception that the majority of people have, but it really is a lot deeper than that. And it does. So in order to be diagnosed, it has to affect you in more than one setting. That's part of the diagnosis criteria. And
I wanted
like
to
Graeme said,
backtrack.
it was a good example.
I wanted to backtrack to the academic side of things. Like, I'm not saying that you can't like use it as an excuse because most people probably really do struggle because of it, but it shouldn't be the only excuse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I do understand, like,
school
like
isn't
a lot
made
of
for everyone.
no, school
the
is a
way,
load of the school system's fucked. So
I mean, I thrived from it. I did really well in our school system.
yeah.
But
that's the thing, is it's tailor-made for some people, and it works really, really well for some people. And I was also one of those people. I loved school, I really did, but I can see how bullshit it was, and I could the whole time. Well, not the whole time. From like grade 10, 11, I was like, this is all a load of horse shit. But unfortunately, it is what it is. And
yeah, so like it's one of those things that it just, I think from a personal note, it used to just irritate me a bit when people would use it as an excuse. Because it's kind of like,
oh, I've also got it.
I've also got it. Why am I not using it as an excuse?
But at the same time,
you know what I mean?
like, this is going to be a very extreme example, but it just popped into my head. Like people that have like are born with one leg, like using that as an excuse to not be fit and healthy, and then a Paralympian being like, oh, why do you use that as an excuse? Look at me, I've got one leg and I can run 400 meters faster than people with 2 legs. Like,
I get where you're coming from.
Like, yeah, like I do understand the frustration though, 100%. Like,
basically,
it makes a lot of sense. I just have to pay
that
for that because
intellectually, I'm a Paralympian.
Yeah,
that's what Dave's trying to say about.
Yeah, I'm gassing you up. Yeah.
So another so I didn't know, like, just to illustrate like why I've never used it as an excuse. I could have got extra time at varsity in my exams because of it, and I had no idea. Like, I literally had no idea that was even. I was like, my whole life I've never thought of it as being something, because it's technically a learning disability. And that's what I mean. That's why I say I can understand how people struggle with it, but for me, I never was like, yo, this is a learning disability.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
as soon as I heard I could get extra time, I was like, why? Why would you, like?
I think it also. I think your parents helped with that as well, though, because obviously Adrian having had it first, and like, they would have let you use it as an excuse either. Whereas, like,
no, they wouldn't have.
Some
also,
parents,
as a kid, I had it drilled into me that I wasn't different.
Yeah.
I was just there was nothing. You just had it drilled into you that there was nothing wrong with you.
Mm.
And I think also being pretty much forced to don't tell other kids that you're on it, because when I was a kid there was a lot of negative publicity around.
There is a lot of negative publicity around diagnosing kids with it and whatever. But the fact is, if you get it early enough and you treat it, people can be off their meds by 18 and they have those pathways fixed. Like, it can actually be fixed. So yeah. We've spoken briefly there about like the medication and stuff being frowned upon and you not telling other people about it and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think, so basically, for those of you who don't understand quite what the medication does, so in South Africa, the main sort of pills that are prescribed to you are Ritalin and Concerta, both of or the generics, but basically the chemical is methylphenidate. Yeah. So, and you can get slow release Ritalins, but generally speaking, Ritalin's more like a instant release, like 2 to 4 hour kind of duration, and Concerta is more like a slow release throughout the day, long duration.
Yeah, so let me just jump in quickly because I can illustrate it quite well with my own personal experience. I mean, I take both.
Yeah.
And that's prescribed. It's not just me being like, yo, I should take both. It's literally a case of the Concerta, taking it like 7:30, 8 is supposed to get you through to like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, that's your day. And I could tell in grade 11 matric,
it wasn't working.
We used to have a lesson after our second break, which was started just before 2.
Yeah.
Quarter, 1:30, 20 to 2, ending at 20 past
2, 2:30.
2.
Yeah, that's sort of time.
Like a 50-minute to 40-minute time slot at the end of the day, and I could just tell that by then I was gone. Like, I couldn't focus in that lesson. It was just really. Yeah, it became a write-off. It was really, really especially depending on the class. If it was a class that there was a lot of like teaching instead of actual, because that's another thing is when you sit down and work. I don't know if you've experienced this, like hyper focus.
Yeah, but I don't find it when I'm studying. It's when I'm doing other work. Like
no.
Yeah.
In any aspect, but I found it if depending on the subject matter. If I'm like doing X, Y, Z module, doing some past paper, whatever, I can kind of just tuck into that, and you just don't come out of it. So what I want to say is, if it's like a class where there's a teacher teaching for 40 minutes, I'm out. Especially that late in the day. Most kids would be as well, but I could literally see the progression because I would sit in the 12 o'clock class having the same experience and be fine.
And 2 hours later, you just nowhere.
I was gone. So I went to my GP who was prescribing the meds at the time, just because it's a lot easier to get them from a GP than to book a psychiatrist appointment for a script. So, and he just said, we can't go up on the dosage because you're already on the biggest pill. The next one is to take 2 of the smaller ones. And I was like, okay, what do you recommend? And he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a quick acting Ritalin to just take in the afternoon whenever you feel like you need it. So that's what I was doing. I was bringing a Rit to school, just 10 minutes before our second break ended, popping it, and I was good for the rest of the afternoon. So, and that would give me, like you said, a 2 to 4 hour burst of Ritalin.
It just sort of afternoons. It just pushes you through to the end of the day and into the evening. But yeah, so in South Africa,
it's like an energy drink before the end of a race, like while you're finishing a race.
Yeah,
or like
just sort of pushes you through that last little bit.
Yeah.
It's like if you go to pre-drinks and then you have a shot like 3/4 of the way through the night just to tie you over that last little bit, you know.
Realistically, you'll survive without it, but it's a lot easier with it.
Yeah, and so in South Africa, those are our prescription medications to deal with ADHD. In other countries, they've got different things. Like I know America's big on the Adderall, which is an amphetamine. So Ritalin and Concerta are very similar to cocaine in their chemical makeup and their like actions in the brain and whatnot. Whereas Adderall is a lot more similar to meth. But either way, they're stimulant medications, and the reason that is because what stimulants do is so let's first of all say ADHD is basically in your brain. I don't know how much anyone here knows about it, but basically all the little nerves in your brain like shoot little, they're called neurotransmitters. So it's like little chemicals across each other, and like they shoot them across and suck them back up and whatever. So basically, when you've got ADHD, you've got twice as many sucky uppers as you do shooty outers. So the one cell will shoot out a bunch of, I think it's dopamine, if I'm correct. I may be wrong, so don't take my word for it. It's one of them. It shoots out a bunch of dopamine, but it's sucking back twice as much as it should be. So not as much dopamine is getting across. And dopamine's associated with reward, which gives you motivation to keep you going.
A happy drug.
Yeah. So they're all happy drugs, realistically. So what stimulants do is they block. So I don't know too much about Adderall, but Ritalin and Concerta block half of those sucky uppers, or vacuum cleaners, or whatever you want to call them.
Only the best science at the Keeping It Blunt podcast.
So that basically the dopamine that gets shot into that little gap does go across into the other nerve, and it doesn't just get sucked back up. But what cocaine does is it blocks all of them. So it's just like extra dopamine getting shoved across. And so that's kind of how they differ. I don't know how much that helps with understanding ADHD.
I mean, science for dummies, pretty much.
Yeah.
The sucker and the shooters.
I think we've definitely done a good job of illustrating our ADHD with the way this episode's going all over the place.
Even if we don't educate you, at least you'll understand.
So we
do you want to do
Instagram stuff already? Or
so we put some stuff out on Instagram a while ago because we are useless at filming on time.
Well, what we did was we tried to film like the day after we put this out on Instagram, but we had multiple issues, and here we are. Okay, let me just get onto the profile quickly. That's another thing. So today my phone broke on a new phone.
I've got them up already.
Okay, so do I. Okay.
Well, do you want to go?
I kind of want to start with the one of people that use RIT to party, because it's kind of on the what I've just explained with how the drugs work.
Okay. Yeah, go for that one.
Okay, so now I know a lot of people who use Ritalin to party, and I'm going to piss a lot of them off. I'm very against it. I think it's because of, especially now that I've got my own prescription, I know you realize how many people have prescriptions but still try their best to get their hands on it, and they'll do anything. They'll pretend to be your best friend, and they'll come and hang out just to get their hands on some Ritalin afterwards. And Graeme knows what I'm talking about here. We both had very similar experiences with this. It's bad, and as much as far as I know, the chemical is not as addictive as sort of cocaine and whatever the behavior is. So, and I've seen it really take people into some very not so great places, where it's like you kind of just need it to Joel, and it does replicate cocaine, and it's like an hour or 2 hours of euphoria, and it's I mean, I don't know, Graeme, what do you think about people using Ritalin to party?
So I've never done it, nor do I not know many people who have. Like, I know people, but I don't know them well.
And you haven't really seen it happening all that much?
No, I've never seen anybody use it as a party drug. Like, I've never seen them actually consuming it.
I feel like this is a pretty good part to sort of mention that when people take it to party, they're not taking it like a pill, like you're supposed to. They break it up and they sniff it. So it is like a white powder. So it's it looks like you're sniffing cocaine essentially.
Yeah. So I've never seen anyone snorting it. but
I've seen my fair share.
I've been out with people who would like you then just from chatting with them they would tell you that they have.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not the best person on this side of things because it's not people I know well enough to say that there's massive behavioral changes, or I don't know what they're like when they're not on it in day-to-day life. I think it's
some pretty scary behavioral changes on it. That's I think where and cocaine the same, and I've seen what it does to your life outside of it as well. And our stance on drugs are pretty much, I don't think they're inherently bad, but when you're doing it illegally and you can't it's not a part of society that's recognized, whereas like drinking it is. So you can get it legally and you know that it's like clean and you know that like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Whereas like with other drugs, you don't know. It's just like you're buying it from some dealer.
That's the problem, is that there's no
regulation.
You have no idea what you're putting into your body. Like I'm not going to tell you I know exactly what goes into all of the alcohol in that we consume.
No, but
I have
it's
idea.
gone through a system, a reviews process to get on the shelves.
And the companies that are putting it on the shelves face massive damages if
something goes wrong.
The guy who's selling you Rit on the corner of the street faces nothing if he's given you Ratex and you pass out.
And I mean, I know. Okay, that's obviously an extreme example.
Legalizing the drug trade, I think, is
like the majority of people are getting it from their friends. Like they'll be getting it from their friends who do have a prescription, or they've managed to get a bogus prescription somehow. Because the one criticism of it that I do agree with is it's very. I wouldn't say it's overprescribed. I think a lot more people have it than realize they have ADHD. But the fact is, it's not properly sort of diagnosed. It's very. I mean, when I literally just went to my doctor. I was like, "Yo, I got told that I need to get Ritalin," and he wrote me a script on the spot. Like, you jump on the scale. Are you allergic to anything? No, cool. Here's a script. I mean, anyone can do that. It really is that simple to get your hands on it. That is a problem. I do agree with that. But we've gotten on a bit of a tangent from people taking it to party. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that some of my friends do it. I'm not going to tell you not to do it because at the end of the day, each to their own. Do what you want to. But yeah, my opinion's pretty much I'm not a fan. It's not great.
But I don't think that's purely a Ritalin thing. That's just a recreational drug.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah. The thing is, the problem, like the people that I know that do it, I feel like I'm just worried that it progresses, and in some cases it has progressed.
Yeah.
Ritalin to harder stuff, and
I've seen
the effects of cocaine on a friend and outside of the party. It can completely like fuck you. Yeah, it is something that I do worry. Okay. So that is basically our opinion on that.
Do you want to? There's two here about suppressing the appetite.
Okay, Graeme, you got a pretty good explanation about that.
So yeah, it's quite simple. And I've listened. Everyone complains about this. When you're bored, you eat a lot. I mean, when you're not bored, you don't eat that much. And from my experience, when I'm on pills, I don't get bored as much. So therefore, I don't eat as much. Do I still get hungry? Yes. Do I still eat? Yes. As my appetite suppressed because I'm on pills? Probably not. It's probably normal. But when I'm not on pills, I eat a lot more.
Yeah.
So, again, I think this is some. I want to talk about side effects quickly.
Okay.
There are. I know. It depends on the pill, which one it is, because some of them are a bit worse. Like, I know Ritalin doesn't suppress my appetite at all. Like, if I'm on a Ritalin, I'll eat as much as if I'm not on a Ritalin. Which is, it comes down to that boredom eat. It's not like I'm eating the regular amount when I'm on Ritalin, and then if I'm on Concerta, I'm not eating at all. I feel it's if I'm on Concerta, I'll eat what is like a normal amount of food, but when I'm on the Ritalin, I will probably you end up getting that like boredom snacking more so than what you. But then I've spoken to people who've had the other way around because both my brother and my sister have tried Ritalin, so they've had varying experiences. I've had friends who had varying experiences, and
I think
a lot of the side effects are case by case.
That's what I was going to say. It's like we mentioned that the last time and the time before we tried to record. At this point, we mentioned it multiple times. Like it really is a case by case thing. Every case is different. Everyone responds to the drugs differently. Everyone presents with symptoms differently. Like ADHD is not like a one size fits all diagnosis. It's kind of like a broad term over a bunch of different sort of presentations, and everyone's got a different solution to it. Some people's solution might be exercising and sticking to a strict routine, and that might sort them out completely. Some people might need medication. Some people can solve it through meditation. I mean, some people need a combination of all of them. It really is a case by case thing, and everyone's just got to kind of figure out their own way of
and that I think that's the nice thing about even being on the med is ultimately you learn how you feel. Like I know I've spoken to people with diabetes who just know without even testing that they have to their blood sugar's low because they just know
the insulin shot. Yeah.
They don't even have to. They don't even have to prick their finger. They just know, and it's the same thing. Like I sat down today. I've started a new job. I sat down for Zoom meetings, and I just knew, okay, you need to take. I haven't taken pills for like months now because I've been on holiday, and I just sat down and I was like, okay, I can feel it. I need to take it, and that's the easy thing about it is you can. It's not like an antibiotic that if you don't finish the course you'll die. It's like you just take it as you feel. But that being said, if you don't need it and you take it, it can mess you up. Like I've seen people have bad side effects. Like really, really, really bad come downs from the drug, which I've experienced myself. But very, very scarcely.
Like it's less of a hectic thing. Like I've also had it with Ritalin, especially. It just sort of it reaches a point where you just sort of feel like a zombie for like an hour or so, and you just sort of have this like deadpan face, and like emotion just doesn't exist. But normally it's quick. Like an hour later, you're back and you're fine. Whereas I've seen Graeme and I've both seen in our friends, like it's sort of that come down lasting a bit longer, and it's
scary.
It's not something that you should fuck around with at the end of the day. Like it's still a drug.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I've had it very scary. I would say if I take a Ritalin 20 times, I'll have like 1 or 2 of those bad experiences.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen people take 5 pills and have 5 bad come downs. And it's difficult to see, especially if it's like people you know. So it's like I'll definitely it's one of those things, like if you're gonna get it, I would always recommend a second opinion.
Yeah. And just like do it properly, man. Like get your first dosage and go back and speak to your doctor about how it made you feel. Like have the conversation. Don't just take the first dosage you get, because the doctors, there's no, like I said, there's no one size fits all. They've got to figure it out on a case by case basis. They're going to give you something in a ballpark estimate, and you've got to be like, this worked, this didn't, this fucked me up, this didn't.
Don't expect it to work straight away. Like it's one of those things that you might have to. Like I mean, I've been taking it now for like nearly 15 years, 14 years. At this point, I'm pretty. Like I know when and when I don't need, but like I can just like establish it. When you first start your first course, you might not feel a difference immediately.
Yeah.
But then there will be like that switch that you just kind of like, okay, this is different now. I can actually feel it. And I think that's also another thing. People that need it, try it and they don't see immediate results.
Yeah, just to clarify as well,
shit.
that switch isn't like you take the pill and you like feel like a switch turn on in your brain, like, oh, I can focus now. It's not like other drugs, like where there's like a kick-in point. Like the point with getting your dosage right is that you shouldn't notice a difference until you've been sitting reading for like an extended period of time and you haven't been distracted and you're like, oh shit, look at that. I normally can't do that. Like, or you just sort of notice yourself getting through your tasks for the day without being distracted by other things that might come up. It's not like a okay, I've taken a Ritalin, I feel the kick in my brain, now all of a sudden I'm in flipping super smart mode. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to, you're not supposed to notice it, but it's supposed to make a difference. Like that's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got there from whether it suppresses your appetite. So
you're welcome.
But yeah, personally, I've found with the appetite thing, I tend to agree with Graeme on the. Why is my camera so out of focus? Whatever. So yeah, I tend to agree with Graeme on the sort of the boredom eating thing. I've been through a bit of a rough patch with my eating the last year, so I'm not going to use that as a case study. But since I've been taking it this last week, and I've been eating normally. I wake up, have breakfast, take the pill. I'm hungry by lunch, but I'm not wanting to just eat in between. So I think Graham's hit the nail on the head with that boredom eating thing.
I think it also comes down to our structure at school. Like we would have like the 2 breaks and essentially expect kids to eat the same amount of food at both breaks, and then whereas both are probably enough for a single lunch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I know I found that at school is that the amount of food you bring is probably like, well, I don't know about like I'm thinking just personally, I would always have more food than I really needed. And I think a lot of people has this it's the same like a lot of people probably get the same. Whereas they're getting, especially when you're younger and you're not packing your own lunches, and your lunch is getting packed for you. It's like you seeing this food that you're not eating, and your parents are seeing this food that you're not eating, and immediately it's a case of, oh, the appetite's suppressed, I can get hungry because of this.
I mean,
where in reality,
I'm sorry.
It's a case of, in reality, it's just a case of you're packing too much food. A person doesn't need to eat like
especially
a
on
whole
days
sandwich at a tea break and then a whole another sandwich at a lunch break.
Like school finishes at say 2:00, so you're coming home at like 2:00. The amount of food that's being packed is the same as if you're coming home at 5:00 after a sports practice. Like that's, I think, something that a lot of parents didn't realize. That like if you've got sport after school, then you'll eat all your food. Like I would always eat all my food if I had squash. But if I didn't have sport after school, like I'm coming home at 2:00. Yeah, I mean, like instead of eating that extra bit of food off between school, the end of school and sports starting, I was going home. So that was the leftover food. But I mean, I wasn't even taking pills in school. Like that was just normal appetite. But yeah, I don't think. I think sometimes I've noticed that I've had to sort of be like, okay, I need to eat now. Like it doesn't register like, okay, I'm hungry, but I don't struggle to eat once I start eating. It's not like, oh fuck this food, like I've got to force it down me. It's just like I've got to start eating and then it's chilled. Like I've just got to remember to eat, kind of thing. We got someone that said, hit me up with you need. No, don't give your Ritalin to people that don't have a prescription. Don't do it, guys. It is very legal to start with. Like you could get in big shit, and just don't do it. Got a girl here with a Felita. Should we name her? Let's give her a name, Graeme. We'll pull a fellas on here.
Well, which
just throw me a random female name.
Are we gonna Felicia?
Felicia. Okay, so Felicia says, I'm on ADHD meds. So my question is, where are my other ADHD bitches at? Why do I only know of guys? Well, I think we touched on that earlier a lot. That's why
a lot of girls go misdiagnosed.
Yes, especially in school. It's a lot easier to notice the hyperactive, like, outbursts and whatever.
Guys,
yeah. So like they're a lot more disruptive. They're loud. They're talking over everyone all the time. The teacher says to the parents, "Yo, your kid's out of hand. Go get him on the pills."
Yeah.
Whereas girls will often just sort of drift off into their little world, and one thought triggers to another. And it's not that you're spaced out; it's just that you're thinking about a million different things at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I think the stats are there somewhere. We learned them. I can't remember them exactly, but there's a lot more boys than girls that get diagnosed, especially like throughout school. And then when it comes to like adult diagnoses, it seems to even out a little bit because as you get older, the hyperactive version doesn't really play out as disruptively. You kind of learn to control it because of growing up and being an adult. So they're more like aware of both presentations.
And it's also, like it is widely known that a lot of girls got misdiagnosed that should be on meds.
Very much so.
And my parents will be honest that if it weren't for my brother and I being on, my sister probably wouldn't have got diagnosed.
Exactly.
So,
and it is a very genetic thing. That's another thing.
It was not so just be genetic. It was kind of like, well, if they both on the meds, we should just get her checked anyway.
Checked, yeah. And it just led on to the. Does your dad take Ritalin?
He sporadically.
Yeah.
He used to, not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. Because I mean, I know my dad's never been diagnosed, but I can tell you right now that the male side of like the Blunt family, like my grandpa, my dad, his brother, I know that my cousin, I'm pretty sure, Hayden, if you're listening, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure my cousin was on Ritalin in school. The male side of the Blunts are like all ADHD. My brothers, like it's all very similar as well. We're not so super disruptive, but like the restless leg syndrome, it's all like, I'm not going to go into all the symptoms or whatever. Like you can go read a book about that. But yeah, we all very much display the same sort of thing, and it's uncanny how genetic it is, and it's very well known that it's passed down.
I want to just jump in quickly when it comes, because we very briefly touched on the symptoms, and I think we need to debunk something because I know it's not in any of our questions we got sent through. It's not the stereotypical halfway through a sentence I'm gonna just lose my, like I'm gonna start. None of that. It's literally okay. I'll put it now, the most simple thing. Dane literally just said squirrel, and my first thought was nuts. Then I went into, and then you go on a tangent about different types of nuts, just from a word, and that's while I'm busy speaking to you guys.
Yeah,
like that's his. There is a YouTuber, massive YouTuber, Ryan Higa, who did these videos where he used to call it, like they were these vlogs where he used to call them the off the pill videos, because he's massively ADHD, and he would literally start off with a concept and tell a whole story without, like, just letting one train of thought lead to the other, and it's the most fantastic illustration of ADHD I've ever seen in my life, because you just sit there and you're like, this is me. This is like, you just relate immediately, because it's not like I can have this conversation and not even be involved in this conversation because I'm thinking about something else.
Yeah.
But
I've just gone down quite the path as well, I'm not gonna lie.
I can see. As soon as I start speaking, you're gonna lose me because I'm gonna be thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. When there's interaction and I'm actively involved, you're not gonna lose me. But if you say something, that's gonna trigger a train of thought to go somewhere, and I'm not actively, especially in a group setting, because one-on-one conversation is very difficult to lose someone one-on-one.
Yeah.
I mean,
unless you both ADHD.
But when you're in a group setting, sorry?
Unless you both ADHD, then it's quite easy.
Yeah. But if you're in a group setting of like 3 or 4 people, and suddenly there's 3 people having a conversation and you're not involved, it's very, very easy to just like hear something they said and go down a completely different path.
I mean, yeah.
Like another example. Sorry, let me just finish this one. Another example is that I mean, and I get, my sister loves to give me shit about this because she thinks I've got this obsession with being right all the time.
Oh yeah.
But it's, if someone says something, and they're like, oh, I think this is what I read somewhere. I think this is this, and I can't.
Yeah, it does my head in.
I have to go find out for sure. I have to go find out for sure, and it always comes across like I'm trying to prove them wrong.
Oh, it's just I just wanted to know.
I just have this obsession with because you
It's interesting.
piqued my interest now. I have to know.
Like,
Yeah, what were you saying?
Yeah, the big misconception is like when you're speaking to someone with ADHD or like take the classroom setting again, spaced out and whatever, like everyone sort of thinks that their brain's empty and that they're just like spaced out. It's not the case at all. I mean, you'll very rarely find someone with ADHD with nothing going through their head. It's constantly one thought to the next thought to the next thought to the next thought, and it won't make sense to normal people. It doesn't, like the train of thought just goes on this tangent, and next thing you're like 5 minutes down the line of thinking about things, and you're like, what was I doing? I was doing something, and it's that whole walked into the kitchen to go to the fridge, opened the fridge, and next thing you're looking in the fridge like, what the fuck? I came here for a reason, but now I'm busy thinking about the polar bears.
Yeah, another one is if you're reading something, and I know if I'm reading like a textbook or something, you come across a word that you're not familiar with.
Oh.
And then you Google what it means, and then the next thing you're on YouTube learning about
You've learned everything about this whole side of the world, and you're like, wait, I've got a test tomorrow.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, just reading stuff, like, if I'm reading a book and I like something comes up about a certain topic, I'll keep reading the words, but my brain's busy thinking about other thing, and it's gone on a train of thought, and that's like one of those weird things. Like, I'm busy reading the words, like the words are being read, and I'm reading them out loud in my head, but my brain is somewhere else. Like, I'm busy thinking about something that's not what I'm reading, and it's like a superpower, but it's also freaking annoying at the same time, because then you just have to read the same paragraph over and over again to try and keep yourself focused.
I think another symptom I wanted to touch on, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, hypersensitivity with your senses. I get it a lot with sound. So
yeah, I get it with sound.
This is going to be an odd one, but I hate it because when I think about it, but I hate silence. Okay, it irritates me when things are quiet. I can't, it just bugs me. But that being said, I have these episodes of hypersensitivity where a consistent noise or just too much noise makes me want to rip my hair out. It literally literally makes me want to I have to cup my ears with a pillow or something. Like literally something as simple as a clock ticking. It's just it's like someone is in my ear.
It's just the clock.
And it literally it gives me anxiety. And it's called hypersensitivity. It's another thing that goes hand in hand with ADHD. I don't know why they're linked, but they are. And it's the most frustrating thing because I have no control of it. I'll literally be sitting in a room with people talking, and suddenly the room just sounds like it's gone. Like the volume was here, and then suddenly it's there, and you've got no control over it.
I think and you also just mentioned. I know you mentioned it earlier, like that hyper focusing thing. Like it can be a superpower of ADHD. Like if you need to get something done and you manage to get into that sort of hyper focused zone, it's unreal. It is unreal. Like I've seen it with like editing and stuff. Like I'll sit and I'll start editing and I won't look anywhere except for like what I'm doing, and I'll look at the time and it's been 3 hours. It's just disappeared and I've done so much in that time. So but the trick is like being able to do that voluntarily. Is like you said, you can't choose when that happens. It just happens. And that could be I'm studying for a test and I see a word and I go to look it up, and next thing I'm hyper focused on like diving down this rabbit hole of learning about something that's completely irrelevant to what I'm trying to study. And you really, it's just that control over your thought patterns. It's not there really. Okay, should we look at the next one? What's the next one, Graeme?
Yeah, well, the next one is 2 parts. People assume Ritalin just makes you concentrate. Can you explain from your perspective how concentration is just the tip of the iceberg? I think the best way, we've listed a lot of symptoms of there's the the lack of concentration, the hypersensitivity. Those are the two that I struggle with the most. And not just Ritalin, concerts as well. It does help quite a bit in terms of subduing low. I mean, like the thing is, it's not just concentration. Is everyone. I love reading other people's experiences with ADHD because they're all
everyone's
the same.
Got a slightly different. Yeah.
Slightly different. But then it's so nice to read about it and be like, oh, I've got that exact same symptom, but I don't have that.
Yeah.
So, just like how I don't have a problem with my appetite if I'm on meds, whereas I've seen so many people do.
Yeah.
To say it's just concentration, it's not.
It's so much bigger. At the end of the day, it's a neurological disorder. There's a problem with the wiring in your brain. Things aren't doing what they're supposed to do. The main thing that everyone knows it for is for the concentration in the classroom, and we've mentioned this earlier already. That's what it's popularized about. Is kids having ADHD because they're bouncing off the walls in class. But it is so much deeper than that, and it does affect your daily life and your interactions with your friends and your family. Because, especially if you've got the more on the hyperactivity thing, you will. Graeme and I talk over each other quite a bit, and we're not even the hyperactive presentation. If we were, you get those people that they can't hold their tongue; they just jump in, they're butting into conversations the whole time, and it's just those control it really. It's that's just one example. I mean, the list goes on. We could speak for hours about all the different things, but we're not going to bring out the textbook and teach you guys that. We just sort of talking about the topic. I mean, it affects you in all different spheres of your life. And my biggest one isn't in the concentration and the studying factor. It is the general routine and daily things that you need to do to be alive as a human being. Big ones were regularly and just general day-to-day things keeping any kind of routine going was just impossible. I do still struggle with it, and it's something that I fight with myself with all the time because I know how easy it is. I know exactly what I need to do to level up and become a superhuman. Executing it, I start and I get on a roll for a couple of days and the wheels just fall off every single fucking time. And it is, it's way bigger than just studying and concentration. I don't know if you have anything more to say on that.
No, I was basically just going to say that we just following on from that, it's and just to agree with this person, it is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to concentration is probably the biggest one. I know it's what I struggle with the most.
Yeah.
But there's so much more the talking over someone in a conversation and actually being invested in a conversation.
Being present in a conversation.
Where someone is talking to you, telling you some stuff, and you're just not listening.
Yeah.
You're trying so hard to listen, but nothing.
You hear them, but you're not listening. Yeah.
You actually actually find myself having to apologize, and it seems really rude. You have to tell them, listen, I love you, but I wasn't.
I didn't hear a single word you said. It. Yeah, I think Clinton must get so pissed off with us, bro, because I do that to Clinton all the time. Yeah. I'll just be there, and we'll be mid-conversation. We've been going back and forth, and then he'll start a slightly longer part of the conversation, and I'm just like, bro, I'm sorry, can you start again? I didn't hear. I didn't hear that. Start it again.
I mean, we do it with each other.
We're bad. We'll have two separate. We'll just talk to ourselves, but to each other. You'll be telling me about something, and I'll respond telling you about something completely different, and then you'll carry on with your conversation, and I'll carry on with mine. We're just talking to each other, but talking to ourselves. Oh, it is. Yeah, it really does go a lot deeper than classroom focus. That is the tip of the iceberg.
Way deeper. I mean, fidgeting. Can we talk about fidgeting?
I mean, my leg just goes. I don't have it too badly with my hands.
I'll actually illustrate something. Just hold on. These are paper clips that I use and always down on my desk because I just twist them
just fidget
all out of shape. because I fidget with them.
Do you have the leg thing though, or is yours more hand driven?
Oh, the leg thing, yeah. Literally this entire hour we've been filming, my leg's been bumping.
Yeah, I can't keep my legs still to save my life.
I can't use stress balls because if I've got a stress ball and a flat wall, game over. I'm playing catch.
Yeah, you're throwing it up against the wall.
And yeah, the fidgeting. One thing I did find that helps with that is I chew a lot of gum because then I don't fidget as much. So yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, you learn to find ways to deal with stuff. Like it's. I play with my.
You've actually just mentioned.
I put my hands in my pockets a lot, not because I need my hands in my pocket, but because I like to play with my wallet or my phone in there. I find myself like today I've got a button-up shirt on, so I play with the buttons a lot. It's literally just something to keep you occupied.
Something to do. And you've touched on that. So, like what you said, you find ways to sort of cope with it. You'll find a lot of people with ADHD do suffer with addiction as well. It pretty much goes hand in hand. Addiction can be anything from smoking, drinking, drugs, to things like Graeme with the fidgeting and chewing gum and stuff. You sort of find ways that help you cope with it, I suppose, and some are more healthy than others, but like ADHD people do tend to sort of latch onto something that they figured works for them in any way, whether it's a good way or a bad way, and they stick with it, and it does become a habit very, very easily. It's interesting. Okay, this is our last one. Am I right?
Well, there's two more.
There's two more.
You do this one. Yeah.
Okay. So. Okay. So another Felita says, I love having ADHD as an excuse for my weird behavior. Like one of the superpowers, 100%, especially out of school.
But you don't need to have an excuse though. Like just be weird.
True. Just be weird. But like if you look at.
But if you need one, blame it.
Yeah, I mean Youngblood's big. Him and I both like Youngblood quite a bit, so we'll probably talk about it.
Youngblood's gonna take over the world.
He's taking over the world, and I have no problems with it, whatsoever. Youngblood's another person who like mentions his ADHD as part of his reasoning for being as completely crazy as he is. Weird, man. Just be weird. It is. We're all weird. Not what the hell is normal.
Weird time of life.
Exactly. Quite a Youngblood lyrics. I love it. But yeah, man, just be weird. We're all a bit weird. Like normal is boring. Normal is so the 20th century.
Normal is boring. I have been doing that since I was like 14 years old.
What was that? Oh, you cut out a bit.
Boring.
Yeah, normal is boring.
No, I said I've been saying that since I was like 14 years old.
And keep saying it. Normal is boring. And what the hell's normal? Like.
Well, John. Then we'll go to the last response to our story, which is you guys both have it or you're certified crackheads. It's both.
That was submitted by me, to be fair.
That was there. Yeah.
Just to boost some interaction. And speaking of that, follow us on Instagram. Like us on whatever you've watched it on.
Share, subscribe, review us on Spotify, review us on Apple Music, Apple Pods.
All the things you can. Any buttons Google you see you can press that seem positive, press them, please. It helps.
You can find that if you use the most obscure podcast app to listen to your podcast, we're there.
We're on all of them.
We're on all of them. So we're on all of them. We like to upload weekly.
Again, apologies for this last end of Jan week, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. We're in lockdown. I mean, I can think of worse things to do with your life than listening to
tell your friends. If you've got friends and family with ADHD and you want to check out anything we've said with them, send them the link. Maybe they'll find some comfort in it or something.
Or if you think you might have ADHD. It's a bit late to tell you now to listen to this, but I mean, at least by the end of this, you'll know because we are experts.
Yeah. Oh, bro, I just remembered something. Can you? I don't know if you can do this. I don't know if it's a lot of shit or not, but it was one of those like things that you see on Instagram. It was like, or it might have been, yeah, whatever. Basically, it was saying that you can only manually like defocus your eyes if you're ADHD, and I've always been able to do that. Like I can just sort of be looking at something and just make everything out of focus. Can you do that?
What do you mean? Like make make everything like blurry?
Yeah, like you just so
Yeah, like voluntarily.
yeah.
Like just like slowly make it. Yeah, I could do
Yeah,
that.
so like I'm just sitting there and I'm just like looking at my phone and I'm like getting a bit over it. I'll just sort of make everything go blurry, like I'll just zone out, and you just defocus
Yeah,
your eyes.
yeah,
Like apparently that's like an ADHD thing. I didn't know that. I just thought that everyone could do it.
yeah.
Yeah, there's so many cool little quirks with having
I
ADHD.
struggle a
Like
bit
it's not
with
a bad
like
thing.
I don't do it often, but I can do it.
Yeah, no, like it's I don't think I can like do it whenever I want to,
it
but
just
I can do
happens.
it. Like yeah,
Yeah,
it happens quite frequently, like a few times a day at least. And
yeah.
you can just like snap back into it as soon as you want to. Like yeah, let us know in the comments
And
if you can defocus your eyes.
relate to us.
Maybe it is a load of shit. Maybe everyone can do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you can do it, and you say you're not ADHD, you're lying.
Or maybe not. Like I saw it on an Instagram post. Like not the most
And
reliable
we
source
know
of
that
information.
Instagram is the most reliable source next to
After
Wikipedia,
famous
and
birthdays.
and and that guy who's got the older brother who knows everything. So
Oh yeah. We're talking.
we can't
I'm
be.
joking. Yeah. Do we have anything else to speak about? Like we could probably go on for
I
another few
think
hours
that's it.
considering we HD, but I
Yeah,
think we call it. Yeah. It's been
yeah, I
about
think
an
so.
hour. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching / listening wherever you are. We're gonna say it one more time because we're annoying. Like,
Like,
subscribe,
share,
comment,
subscribe,
share, follow us on
review,
Instagram, connect with
5
us, do all
stars,
the
all that good
things.
stuff.
Like, yeah, peace out.
Tell your friends about it,
Tell your friends
and if
about it.
tell your friends about it, and just like it does, you'll be doing us a favor.
If you tell your friends about it, we might get your friends on here, and we might get you on here as well,
Yeah,
because we want to get all our friends on here at some stage anyway.
yeah,
And I'm pretty sure at this point, most of the people listening are our friends. So thank you,
yeah.
and hopefully
Thank you,
you'll be in
friends.
this call soon, or we'll be
And
on a set
even if
soon.
you aren't our friends, you're our friends now because you're listening to the podcast.
Yes. Okay, this has been a long outro. Thanks. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah.